Hello everyone, welcome to my class today. Today we'll see a topic in medical surgical nursing condition which is cardiomyopathy. So cardio means heart, myo is muscles, pathy is disease condition. So when there is a disease condition in the muscles of the heart, we call it as cardiomyopathy. So it occurs at any ages when the normal muscles become thick and stiff, and some abnormal substances when they come and accumulate in the heart muscles, then the heart will not be able to pump and send adequate blood supply to the aorta, and thereby circulation will be impaired to the body, and all the blood will start accumulating in the heart and they start backflowing into the lungs, causing problem also in the pulmonary artery. In definition, cardiomyopathy is a group of disease. That means there are so many disease conditions coming under cardiomyopathy, and they affect both the structure and functional ability of the heart. So the heart's main function is to pump blood and send it through the aorta, and thereby it goes to the all parts of the body. But here, because of the functional ability is lost, the heart muscles has to work harder in order to push the blood through the aorta. So when constantly the heart muscles are working more and more, at the end stage they will go for heart failure. So that is cardiomyopathy. And coming to the epidemiology, so it can occur in all ages and all races. So that is people with any ethnicity can be affected with cardiomyopathy, and mostly cardiomyopathy goes undiagnosed because the symptoms are silent, and only when the patient is going for heart failure then the symptoms are shown. So mostly cardiomyopathy is not able to diagnose, so the numbers are not correct. And 1 in 500 adults have this condition. Males and females are both affected with cardiomyopathy, and it occurs in young age, young children, and also in elderly. And when the person is not having any signs and symptoms and he is having a cardiomyopathy, he can go to a sudden cardiac death. And coming to the types of cardiomyopathy, there are two types, primary and secondary. So primary means it is an idiopathic cause. So there is primarily some problem on the muscles of the heart, where the muscles are going into some disorder and it is not able to do its function. So that is called primary cardiomyopathy. And secondary cardiomyopathy can be of some other disease process or any toxins, medication, alcohol, or any disease which can predispose the client to cardiomyopathy, that is called as secondary cardiomyopathy. The other classification based on the blood supply from coronary arteries. So coronary arteries are the arteries which are supplying the myocardium. So based on that, they are classified into non-ischemic cardiomyopathy. So in ischemic cardiomyopathy, there is some problem in the coronary arteries where the coronary arteries are blocked. Thereby there is no blood supply to the myocardium, and the myocardium goes for necrosis, death, and ischemia. So because of that, the heart is not able to function. That is called ischemic cardiomyopathy. And the condition of coronary artery disease is already dealt in another class. Link will be given in the description. Please look into it. And non-ischemic cardiomyopathy can be an acquired condition where there is so the pathological processes that are taking place in the myocardium, but the blood supply is normal. Then it is called as non-ischemic cardiomyopathy. To the types of non-ischemic cardiomyopathies. So the first one is dilated cardiomyopathy. So this occurs because of some inflammation or degeneration in the myocardium, where the stretch fibers are enlarged, and you can see the ventricles are enlarged. So here the blood is coming, but the heart is not able to contract effectively because of the enlarged myocardium. There is no adequate oxygen for the enlarged space, and there is no ability for the myocardium to contract, and the myocardium becomes weakened, and that is called dilated cardiomyopathy. So here the systolic function will be absent. Okay, that means they cannot contract and send the blood supply out. And hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is here the heart muscles are thickened and they become very stiff, so that when the blood is coming inside, there is no effective diastole. Okay, so that means the filling pressure or the blood is not adequately filled because the myocardial muscles are multiplied and enlarged. Okay, so you can see in the picture the space in the ventricles are very small, the muscles are very thickened and stiff, so that there is reduced blood coming, and thereby effective pumping is not taking place. And restrictive cardiomyopathy is a condition where in the heart ventricles or in the chambers there is some abnormal tissue is accumulating on the ventricles, which makes the ventricles very harder and stiff, so that the ventricles are not able to contract. Okay, so here there will be stiff and rigid heart muscles. And next is arrhythmogenic cardiomyopathy. So here mostly it occurs in the right ventricles, and in the right ventricle you can see the cardiac muscle itself is absent. That means they are replaced by some fibrous or fatty tissue. Okay, so it is not a normal cardiac muscle. So because of this, the fibrous fatty tissue is not able to contract and send the blood supply. So here the person will go for sudden cardiac death because effective blood supply to the circulation is not there. Of these conditions we will see in detail. So dilated cardiomyopathy, so as I already said, the heart muscles are weakened due to some inflammation or degeneration. They lose the elasticity and the muscles will stretch enough and accommodate the blood, but there won't be effective pumping or contraction and sending the blood supply forward. So because of that, the blood will start moving backward to the previous chambers and causing congestion. Coming to the causes of dilated cardiomyopathy, so there can be idiopathic and infective dilated cardiomyopathy. Idiopathic is cause unknown. Infective means there is the past or in the present there are some viral illness which are gaining access to the heart, and they cause inflammatory response in the myocardial cells, and they cause myocardial injury where the myocardium will become weakened and there is degeneration, is called as infective dilated cardiomyopathy. And familial dilated cardiomyopathy is, it is due to some genetic disorder when some parent, sibling or first degree relatives. So first degree relatives is marriage within the relatives. Okay, so when they give birth to children, their children can have a chance of getting a dilated cardiomyopathy. So when there is some family history of dilated cardiomyopathy, then it can pass to the generation. And valvular dilated cardiomyopathy is, here one or more of the valves of the heart are damaged. So when there is incompetent valves, then the valves will not close adequately. So in the previous chambers, the blood will fill and it will go for dilation. And alcoholic dilated cardiomyopathy, so this is because some toxic effects of the alcohol can cause the myocardial muscle go into some pathological process where it can relate in dilation and thereby heart failure. And drug induced dilated cardiomyopathy, so here again antineoplastic drugs, psychiatric agents, so these all agents have a harmful effect on the heart. Okay, so they are called as cardiotoxic drugs. So when person is taking these drugs, they can alter the configuration of the myocardial muscle, which can result in the disease. This is peripartum dilated cardiomyopathy. So this occurs in the pregnancy, so that is from the final months of pregnancy. After delivery till 5 months it can be there. So this is because the mother has to pump the blood for the growing fetus. Heart has to do double function in order to provide oxygen and nutrients for the growing baby. So at that time the heart is starting to work harder, and when they keep on working harder, the stretched fibers in the heart muscles will become weak and they lose the elasticity and they remain dilated. This is diabetic dilated cardiomyopathy. So this is because of the excess glucose which are present in the blood. They cause the structural, functional and metabolic changes in the heart muscles, and because of that the heart muscles are not effectively pumped, and whereby the patient can go for dilation of the heart chambers. Next is thyrotoxic dilated cardiomyopathy. So here because of the toxic effects of excess thyroid hormone, they can cause tachycardia and various arrhythmias in the heart. So whenever there is tachycardia, arrhythmia, the heart is pumping faster. So when they keep on pumping faster, the contractility function will be lost, and thereby the myocardial cells will go for dilation. So this can also result in dilated cardiomyopathy. Okay, and the next cardiomyopathy is hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So here the heart muscles are thickened, and because of that there is no adequate blood coming into the heart and thereby cardiac output is low. Types of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is, first is hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy or asymmetric septal hypertrophy. The heart is divided into right and left by a septum. Okay, so this septum is getting enlarged or it becomes thickened due to some disease condition. So when they keep on thickening, they will obstruct the space in the ventricles, and because of that there is no effective blood flow into the ventricles. So when the cause is due to obstruction, then we call it as hypertrophic obstructive cardiomyopathy. Next is hypertrophic non-obstructive cardiomyopathy. So here the ventricles will keep on enlarging in size and shape, and because of that there is no enough space in the ventricles to accommodate the blood, and when there is no adequate blood is coming to the heart, then the heart is not able to pump and maintain the cardiac output. Okay, and causes of hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is due to genetic disorder. So there is some mutation in the chromosomes. So mutation is abnormality in the chromosomes that are forming the muscles. So the muscles can become thick and familial. So any parent is having the cardiomyopathy, then there is 50% chance for the genetic mutation to occur for the children. So it can pass generation. And muscular disarray. Okay, so that is the cardiac muscles are specially made of muscle fibers called as syncytium. Okay, syncytium means they are not parallel, they will be in a zigzag way. Okay, but here due to some problem the cardiac muscle also are in parallel shape. Okay, so this disorganized pattern will not allow the heart muscles to effectively contract, and because of that they will become enlarged in size, and there is no effective filling in the myocardium. Okay, and next is hypertension and aging. Okay, so in hypertension there is increased systemic vascular resistance. Okay, that means when the heart is pumping blood, if there is some block in the blood vessels or tension in the blood vessels, the heart has to give extra effort in order to push the blood through the resistance or through the tensed area. When the person's heart constantly beats faster and it pushes the blood against the resistance, then there can be a cellular changes that are occurring in the heart, which makes the myocardial muscles to increase in shape and size. That it means it will become hypertrophied, and thereby there won't be enough space for the ventricular filling. When there is no ventricular filling, there is no cardiac output. Okay, and next is aortic stenosis. Okay, aortic stenosis can occur as a birth defect, or it can also occur in the adult age. So this is the aorta is become narrow. Okay, so again same like hypertension, here also the heart has to pump against the stenosed area. Okay, so it has to give so much effort in order to push the blood through the stenosed area. So when there is more and more working of the heart muscles will go for hypertrophy, and then the ventricular space will be reduced and ventricular filling will not take place, and because of that there will be non-compliant. Okay, that means the heart is not able to maintain the cardiac output. Next is restrictive cardiomyopathy. So as the name, it is a disease of the heart muscles where the muscles are restricted. Okay, so because some abnormal tissue is covering the heart muscles are not able to stretch and fill the blood. Okay, so that is there is restriction in the myocardial muscle to expand. So they are called as restrictive cardiomyopathy. They are again divided as non-obliterative restrictive cardiomyopathy. So here it is due to some abnormal substances like any inflammatory mediators or amyloid protein, they come and accumulate on the myocardial tissue. Because of that there is restriction, and in obliterative there is fibrosis. Okay, there are some fibrous deposition taking place on the myocardium and the submyocardium due to some thrombosis reaction. So because of this the person is going for restrictive cardiomyopathy. Okay, etiology of restrictive cardiomyopathy. So first is genetic disease. So it can be due to hemochromatosis where there is excess iron deposition on the heart, and Fabry disease, it is an X-linked deficiency disorder where glycolipid substance can accumulate in the tissues of the heart, and Gaucher's disease, it is an inherited disorder where there is metabolic problem, and there is a compound called glucose riboside which will accumulate in the heart muscle. And next, connective tissue disorder. This can be due to amyloidosis. So here there is a protein called beta amyloid, so which will form like a fibrils on the heart muscle. So it can cause multi-organ failure and also it can affect the heart. And systemic sclerosis. So again here a fibrous or a sclerous tissue is depositing in the heart and other vascular structures, which because of that also restriction can occur. Okay, another condition like hypereosinophilic syndrome. So again here this is a disease that will destroy the structures in the pulmonary and vascular structures of the heart. And sarcoidosis. So sarcoidosis is there will be formation of granulomatous tissue and this can occur in the heart. And endomyocardial fibrosis. So this is there is some clot formation or fibrous tissue deposition taking place in the heart. And radiation therapy. So due to cancer, if the person is going for a chest radiation, and this radiation effects can cause fibrosis of the heart tissue. Next is arrhythmogenic cardiomyopathy. So it is an inherited heart muscle disorder, most common in young patients and athletes. And here the normal myocardial cells are replaced by some unwanted fatty or fibrous tissue, and mainly they occur in right ventricle, and nowadays they are also occurring in both the ventricles, so that is biventricular involvement. Causes of arrhythmogenic cardiomyopathy. So it is a genetic disorder, so inherited autosomal dominant pattern, where it can be due to a gene mutation or a chromosomal abnormality, where the person will go for this heart disorder, that is the normal tissues are replaced by some unwanted cells. And fatty infiltration. So here the partial or the whole part of myocardium is replaced by a fatty tissue, and this fatty tissue cannot do the normal function of the heart. And fibrofatty infiltration. So again the myocytes are replaced by fibrofatty tissue and the myocardium is going for atrophy. Atrophy is loss of tissues. And when there is strenuous constant exercises, especially in athletes, they are having a chance of myocardial cells will go worn out and they will be replaced by some fibrofatty tissue. Coming to pathophysiology of all the cardiomyopathy. So in dilated cardiomyopathy, so because of any of the causes, there is increased stasis of blood in the left ventricle. So that means ventricles will be filled with blood and the ventricles will try to stretch and accommodate the excess blood which is coming inside, and the heart has to work harder in order to push the excess blood. And further more stasis of blood will occur. There will be degenerative changes taking place in the myocardium, where the myocardium stretch fibers all will be lost and the elasticity will be lost and the myocardium will be enlarged in size. Okay, that is ventricular dilation, and enlarged chamber size will be there, which is called cardiomegaly. So when they are enlarged more, then the elasticity is not there, then the heart is not able to contract and maintain the cardiac output. So cardiac output is amount of blood which is ejected from the ventricles through the aorta in 1 minute. Okay, next is hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. So any condition which will cause obstruction in the outflow of blood from the left ventricles. So when there is obstruction, the heart has to pump harder and forcefully in order to push the blood through the obstructed area. So when they keep on pumping, the stretch fibers will fail to relax and there will be increase in the number and size of the myocardial cells, which is called as hypertrophy. So when the myocardium cells becomes hypertrophy and thick, then the ventricular chamber size will become small and there won't be enough blood coming and filling the ventricles. Okay, heart will go for diastolic dysfunction, so that means the relaxation is not taking place and ventricles are not filling properly. They cannot contract and push the blood supply towards the aorta, so person's cardiac output also is less and whereby patient will go for heart failure. And in restrictive cardiomyopathy, so it is an infiltrative disorder, so where some fibrous deposits or any inflammatory condition occurring on the myocardial cells. So the normal myocardial cells will die and there will be an abnormal myocardial fibrosis taking place, and which makes the ventricles to be rigid and non-compliant. Okay, that means they don't contract nor relax and they become resistant to filling. Diastolic dysfunction takes place and further more and more fibrous deposition will come. Then again systole also will be lost, and because systole and diastole is not there, there won't be cardiac output, and this will cause heart failure. And in arrhythmogenic cardiomyopathy, so there is dysplasia of the myocardial tissue. That means the normal myocardial tissue are replaced by fibrous fatty tissue, and the fibrous fatty tissue cannot do the normal myocardial function, so there is impaired myocardial function, and the heart is not able to contract and maintain the systemic circulation. And when heart is not maintaining the systemic circulation and giving enough blood supply to the organs, the patient can go for life threatening arrhythmias. Okay, arrhythmia is changes in the heart rhythm. Okay, coming to the clinical manifestation, so there is shortness of breath, swelling of legs and feet, which is edema, fatigue, weight gain, cough, congestion, palpitation, and dizziness, fainting, and patient is predisposed to getting blood clots in the dependent area of the body. And in hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, there is chest pain, shortness of breath, syncope and palpitation. In restrictive cardiomyopathy, shortness of breath, fatigue, inability to exercise, swelling of legs and feet, that is edema, weight gain, nausea, bloating, poor appetite, palpitations, fainting, chest pain or pressure in the chest, especially with exercise. And arrhythmogenic cardiomyopathy, so there will be changes in the heart rhythm. Patient will have ventricular tachycardia, palpitation, dizziness, lightheadedness, fainting. This is because blood supply is not going to the brain due to impaired pumping mechanism. And shortness of breath, inability to carry out even normal activities, and swelling in the legs, ankles and feet, which is edema. The diagnostic findings of cardiomyopathy, so you have to collect the medical history. So because it is a genetic condition, so you have to collect the family history, childhood congenital diseases, and genetic history like marriage with first degree relatives, and presence of any siblings with cardiomyopathy. In physical examination, you have to see the patient for any shortness of breath and edema, palpate for the apical pulses and see whether there is any lateral displacement of the apical pulse, and auscultation for any abnormal heart sounds and murmurs. And laboratory test, we have to do a complete blood count to see if there is anemia, infection, and these patients can go for clotting problems, so you have to check the platelet dysfunction. And cardiac markers, so these are enzymes which are present in the heart muscles. So when the heart muscles are not pumping properly, so these enzymes will be elevated in the blood, so you have to check for these enzymes. And renal function test, so when the heart is not adequately pumping and sending the blood supply to the kidneys also will get impaired and they cannot do the function. So urea, creatinine, serum electrolytes to identify the kidney function. And B-type natriuretic peptide, so this is the main test if the patient has gone for heart failure. Okay, so all the cardiomyopathy, the complication is heart failure. So if this is elevated in the blood, then there is a presence of heart failure, because these peptides are proteins which are used by the myocardial muscles for pumping, and if it is not used, then they will be elevated in the blood. And ECG, you can see all the arrhythmias. So according to the type of cardiomyopathy, you can see tachycardia, hypertrophy, fibrillation, block and dysrhythmias. Okay, and the other imaging studies, in chest x-ray you can see the cardiomegaly, right and left heart enlargement, and any signs of pulmonary hypertension. So the pulmonary vessels will be enlarged. So these all you can see in the chest x-ray. Doppler echocardiogram, so here you can check the regional wall motion abnormality, that is how the heart is pumping, and if the atria, ventricles are dilated, or any systolic, diastolic dysfunction. Okay, so what is the ejection of blood, the cardiac output, so this all you can check in echocardiogram. So if there is any abnormalities in the heart, and this will be abnormal. And CT scan and MRI scan of chest, so nowadays there are 64 slice, 128 slice, 256 CT scans have come, so which will slice the heart, that is the waves will go and slice the heart in various dimensions, and they will clearly show the picture of the heart. So here any structural abnormalities or any vascular block can be identified. And multi-gated acquisition scan, so here we inject a radionuclide isotope and then take the scan. So this will show how much ejection fraction, that is how much blood is ejected from the ventricles. Cardiac catheterization, it is a confirmatory procedure to identify what type of cardiomyopathy, and also it will see the pressures in the chambers and how much blood is accumulating, and whether there is congestion. Everything can be identified in the cardiac catheterization. And endomyocardial biopsy is done in case of patient with inflammatory disorder. So you can see if there is any inflammation or any antigen present in the myocardium, or if there is any fibrosis or hypertrophied muscle. So all those you can take a biopsy of the tissue, and that will be sent for examination to identify what type of tissue is the myocardium. This is emergency management of cardiomyopathy. So mostly patients with cardiomyopathy, they have problems with circulation, airway and breathing. So we must see the circulation is maintained. Okay, sometimes patient can go unconscious because there is no proper adequate circulation to the organs. Patient will be very serious in condition, so you have to do CPR. So CPR is done only when the patient is unresponsive and he is not breathing and the pulse is not felt. Then emergency CPR should be given, and you have to check for the breathing, and if patient is not breathing, you have to start with the oxygen therapy. It can be a face mask, nasal prongs, or a CPAP, or a mechanical ventilator. So according to the need of the patient, you have to give the oxygen therapy. And defibrillation, so this is whenever the ECG rhythm shows abnormal ventricular fibrillation or ventricular tachycardia, any life-threatening arrhythmias are there, then the defibrillation should be kept ready. So this will revert the heart rhythm to normal sinus rhythm. Okay, and the other management of cardiomyopathy, so pharmacological management, so we give diuretics. So because the fluid is not moving forward due to problem with the systolic and diastolic function of the myocardium, the fluid start backing up and they will get congested in the lungs and also in the body as edema. So you have to give diuretics and remove the excessive fluid. And nitrates, so when there is more vascular resistance, especially in hypertension, we give nitrates in order to decrease the vascular resistance. And ACE inhibitors like captopril, so this will reduce the afterload. And beta adrenergic blockers like metoprolol, so these are drugs to prevent the excessive heart rate, and thereby they will prevent the heart failure. And aldosterone agonists, so they will spironolactone, so they also will control the neurohormonal stimulation, and also they help in removing the excess fluid from the body. And digoxin, so whenever the heart rhythm shows atrial fibrillation, in order to revert into normal rhythm, they give digoxin. And dobutamine and milrinone infusion. Okay, so this will go in a continuous infusion, so this is for any changes in the heart rhythm. And anti-arrhythmic drugs like amiodarone is given. This will treat the dysrhythmia. And anticoagulation therapy, so these patients are more risk for going for a blood clot, so they can give a low molecular weight heparin if the patient is not having any bleeding tendencies. And if patient is having bleeding, then any anti-embolic stockings or sequential compressive devices will be used. And in nutritional therapy, so because patient is having edema, you have to tell them to restrict salt intake and avoid oily foods. And initially when the patient is sick, they give liquid diet, and once patient becomes conscious and is tolerating, we can progress to soft, solid and semi-solid diet. Next is exercise. We have to tell the patient to take adequate rest. So especially when there is chest pain and pressure, the patient should not do exercise. And patient can do non-competitive daily activities, so all the activities of daily living and mild activities he can perform when the condition is good without any chest pain. And you have to tell the patient to elevate the legs and feet before sleep, so this will prevent edema and also improve the venous return to the heart. And these patients should avoid all strenuous exercise, lifting heavy objects, so this all can cause strain in the heart. So when there is dehydration, again blood supply to the organs can get reduced and patient can go for shock. So you should not do more sweating related activities. And when the patient is going home, so according to the patient ability and according to the physical condition, the doctors will advise whether he can go for a walking or other aerobic exercise. So based on physician order, the person has to follow the exercise. And next, the interventional therapies for cardiomyopathy is percutaneous transluminal septal myocardial ablation therapy through a femoral cut down. They will send the catheter, and this catheter will advance into the septal artery, and from outside they will inject alcohol based injections, that is ethanol, and this ethanol will cause shrinking of the septal wall. So because of that, outflow obstruction can be prevented, and thereby symptoms of heart failure can be treated. And in the same procedure, they can also do a ventriculomyotomy, so where the septal walls will be incision here and there, so that they can shrink normally, so that outflow obstruction can be avoided. And they can also do a septal myectomy, so here the extra hypertrophied tissue of the septal muscles will be removed. Okay, and all these three procedures are done for hypertrophied cardiomyopathy. Okay, and the other procedure is cardiac resynchronization therapy. So this is like if patient is having problem with the rhythms. Okay, so that is when there is changes in the ECG, the pacemaker of the heart, that is SA node is not triggering the impulse, then you can implant the pacemaker in the heart, so that they will do the function of the heart. And implantable cardioverter defibrillators are also implanted devices which are done for any life threatening arrhythmias. So this is like how we give defibrillation. This machine is implanted and programmed in such a way, whenever patient ECG, that is whenever the pacemaker shows an abnormal is life threatening arrhythmias like ventricular tachycardia, ventricular fibrillation is seen, automatically the machine will start giving shock, and they will revert into normal rhythm. Next is surgical management. So there is ventricular assist device. So these are devices used for patient who is waiting for a heart transplant. So the only confirmatory treatment is heart transplantation. Okay, here there is a mechanical device which is implanted on the patient, and this device is like an artificial heart which will do the pumping action of the heart and maintain the circulation. The absolute surgical management for cardiomyopathy is heart transplantation. So here the patient's heart is removed and replaced by the donor heart, and this can be of two types, orthotopic and heterotopic transplant. In orthotopic transplant, the patient's heart is fully removed and the major blood vessels are stitched with the donor's heart. Whereas in heterotopic transplant, the patient's heart will be kept by the side, and the donor's heart, where the right atrium of the donor's heart will be fixed, that is attached with each other. So here in heterotopic transplant, whatever the patient's heart is doing work, so that the patient heart will do, the remaining work will be done by the donor heart. In nursing management, you have to administer oxygen therapy as needed, and vital signs, saturation, IO chart, level of consciousness, dysrhythmia. So everything has to be monitored continuously. IV fluid should be administered as prescribed, and see if patient is able to eat normally. If patient is not taking oral feeds, NG tube has to be inserted and feeding has to be started. All emergency articles should be kept at the bedside to meet emergencies, and your main goal is to alleviate the symptoms and prevent the patient furthering to complications. And all medications should be administered as prescribed, and if any continuous infusion medications are there, you have to maintain the rates as prescribed. And psychological support, emotional support should be provided, because it is a life threatening condition. Okay, whenever patient is posted for any invasive therapy and surgical interventions, we have to prepare the client for the surgical procedure, and all prophylactic antibiotics should be administered before the surgery, and anticoagulant prophylaxis according to the doctor's prescriptions, like anti-embolic stockings or sequential compressive devices or any injectable drugs. So we have to maintain as prescribed. To elevate the legs in order to prevent edema, and all the hygienic practices and activities of daily living should be met. And because these patients are bedridden, they are prone for getting bed sores, so you have to use alpha bed or air mattresses and prevent the bed sores. A patient undergoing heart transplantation or high risk for infection, so we have to see that they are kept in the isolated area, and visitors are strictly not allowed inside these areas. Okay, and we have to give all the care with the proper aseptic technique so that we can prevent infection. And finally, patient and family education. So you have to instruct the client to take all medications as prescribed. Low sodium, low cholesterol diet should be advised, and tell the patient to drink 6 to 8 glasses of water per day. And some patients, if they have edema, then the fluid restriction is there. So as per doctor's advice, they have to follow the fluid restriction. Alcohol, smoking, caffeine, over the counter drugs should be avoided because these can further worsen the disease condition. And you have to schedule activities with periods of rest and activity. Okay, so if patient is having chest pain, patient should not do activity. Only when he is normal and good enough, then patient can go for a walk or do the activities as advised by the physician. And tell the patient to avoid lifting heavy objects, and also avoid all the vigorous activities, but do only activities of daily living. And then all the stress reduction strategies like relaxation, meditation, distraction, prayers should be taught so that it will prevent stress and tension. And teach the patient about the signs and symptoms of heart failure like weight gain, edema, shortness of breath and fatigue. So whenever these signs are there, patient has to inform the physician immediately. And the family members also should be taught about the CPR procedure so that if patient has some sudden emergency at home, they can do the CPR at home until the ambulance is arriving. Whenever the patient is going for other treatment like any dental tooth extraction or any medical procedures, the patient has to inform the physician that he has the cardiomyopathy, and whatever treatment was done, he has to inform so that they will do under antibiotic prophylaxis, because these patients are high risk of going infective endocarditis. Okay, so I hope you have understood my class. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, subscribe and click the notification button and stay tuned.